Good afternoon, everyone. This is Avi Savar. I am the CEO and managing partner of Dreamit. Today, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about our new program, Dreamit UrbanTech, in partnership with Jeff Vinik and an SPP out of Tampa Bay. We've also got Steve Barsh today with us to talk about the program. And really, we're going to spend a little time giving you a broad overview of what Dreamit UrbanTech is all about, and then open up to the audience for questions around what it is that we're going to be doing, what you think you'll be getting out of it. I'm going to spend a few minutes going through a presentation. It should be about 5 or 6 minutes. I'm going to do this pretty quickly because I want to make sure to leave as much room as possible for dialogue and conversation. So Dreamit UrbanTech, a brand new program that we're launching this year. We're really excited about the prospects of urban technology and where the world is going as it relates to that vertical. We think we've got a program that is not just stand out, but is so exceptional in the resources and support that it's going to bring to the ecosystem that we are we're about as bullish on urban tech as we have been on other vertical markets over the last few years. So I'll give you a quick kind of overview here. Hopefully this slide presentation will go. Okay, so we're on a mission here to kind of shape the cities of tomorrow. Our program is pretty airtight. It's focused in on 4 key strategic areas, helping you as startups and founders and entrepreneurs drive as much customer volume into your pipelines as possible through highly curated interactions with customers within the vertical that we're talking about, largest real estate developers in the country, architects, construction management companies, and the like. Also be focused in on how we can attract capital into your companies through our investor network and start to tap into nearly $3 billion in venture that's been deployed over the last year or so in terms of supporting urban technology as a base. Also putting you in front of and aligning you with some of the best talent we have access to provide a real framework for coaching, and also put you in the center of a robust community that Dreamit has been developing over the last 8 years through our broad portfolio of entrepreneurs, our connections with corporate America, and the venture community across the world. So really focused in on those 4 key areas. Now, the really exciting part about this program, which differentiates it from most of other things that we're doing, is that it puts our startups that are accepted smack dab in the middle of one of the largest real estate development projects that's going on in America today. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about that with Jeff Vinik later, but he is undergoing a pretty remarkable undertaking and has dedicated the better part of the next several years of his life to making Tampa one of the greatest places in the country through a massive redevelopment project that will include new residences, new hotel rooms. We're talking about over approximately 9 million square feet of commercial, residential, educational, entertainment, retail, and cultural spaces. So every part of Tampa and the downtown area is going to be in some way, shape, or form affected, touched, and developed by the group that you're going to be interacting with throughout the program. So really exciting opportunity. We're looking for some groundbreaking new technology to help support the initiative. We're looking for some of the best and the brightest minds out there to be able to drive and help Jeff and his team bring their vision to life. So why Dreamit? We've been around for a very long time. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about us ultimately, other than we're a top 10 global accelerator. We've been around the block, and our portfolio is over 300 companies strong. We're ranked top 25 most active VCs on a regular basis. We do a lot of deals. We work with a lot of companies. We're very good at helping drive real early value in the companies that we work with by focusing on those areas that I mentioned. Okay. In terms of who should apply for the program, we're taking the broadest definition possible for urban technology. We want to make sure that we're looking across the spectrum of all types of groundbreaking and breakthrough technologies that are impacting the vertical. If I had to break it down into three key areas, this is kind of how we've started to define it. Really looking at real estate technology, property technologies, construction management, project management, etc., as well as smart cities, in terms of IoT connected devices, both, on the consumer side, but obviously also on the infrastructure and B2B side. So we are looking for companies that have somewhat of a track record. If you've got an idea on a napkin, feel free to apply, but it will be, a long, hard road unless you've got something that is just so groundbreaking that we think is something that we can't pass up. But we are really looking for companies that have shown some traction, that will have the ability to integrate into this program and the activities that are happening on the ground in Tampa. And obviously, the more developed your product and your business is, the easier it will be for you to hit the ground running and add value. So really, it is a program that is focused on traction. The core tenets of the program I mentioned are built around customers and customer immersions. We're going to put you right dab in the center of a group of the most active customers in the urban technology space today. We're going to put you on the road and take you out west and on the East Coast and on the West Coast to meet with the venture community through curated one-on-one meetings and provide you with resources, community, and mentorship throughout the entire program. Very quick snapshot around what we're looking at in terms of the program structure, keeping in mind that these dates are not finalized. But you're talking about almost a 14-week program that kicks off sometime in mid-September and will run through towards the end of the year. We'll get you home in time for the holidays, right after you hit the road on the East Coast and the West Coast to meet with some VCs. Before that, you're going to be meeting, like I mentioned, with tons of customers. We're going to get you pitch ready. There'll be a lot of time spent on the ground in Tampa. And there'll be a lot of time spent remote in terms of working on your businesses, getting your content ready, etc. So quick snapshot of key dates here. We are talking about an application process that is happening right now, and that we'll finalize our cohort. Somewhere between 8 and 10 companies will be selected and kicking off in mid-September. Okay. So that's at the highest level what it is that we're talking about. I'm going to kind of open it up now and stop sharing my screen. You're going to see some faces hang on, there we go. Boom. All right. Hi, everybody. So I'm Avi. On the screen too, you'll see Jeff Vinik and Steve Barsh. So I'm going to kind of turn it over here and start with just a quick hello from Jeff. Maybe you want to say hi to the group here. Quick intro from you, and then we can dive into some questions. So feel free, if you have questions for Jeff, myself, Steve, or anything that just kind of comes up, feel free to hit the Q&A button on the screen and type in your questions. We'll get them queued up here and make sure that we're answering them as they come in. Perfect. So,
great.
Hi, Jeff. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Avi. And I'm glad to be here today and spend some time on this. So for those who don't know, I'm Jeff Vinik, owner of the Tampa Bay Lightning and co-owner with Bill Gates' Cascade Investment of the $3 billion real estate development that we're doing on 53 acres around our arena. Very mixed use, very amenity full. We're building two museums, a black box theater, 5,000 residences, 3 to 4, maybe even 5 full office buildings, University of South Florida School of Medicine, 2 hotels, 1 million square feet of retail, restaurant, entertainment, and we're really doing this. We have the financing in place. Roadway work's been going on for a year. We're redesigning the roadway. We have significant public funding for this. Of the 9 million incremental square feet that's going to be coming online over the next 8 years, half of that, 4.5 million incremental, will be by the year 2020. Tampa just got awarded the Super Bowl in January or February 2021. We have to have this all in place by then. Yeah, fantastic. And it's great to put that deadline on our guys. I just spent an hour this morning going through what we're going to have done. We're going to have almost 5 million square feet of mixed use and a lot of park and activation space all done in time for that supermarket. This, we believe, is a transformational project for the Tampa Bay area. We think it's I love being down here. This is a fantastic place to live, work, play, etc. And I think, well, we're America's best kept secret. People don't know. People here love living here, and nobody else knows that around the country. And I saw an opportunity here with the Lightning and with this real estate development, and we see that this area really becoming one of the top cities in the country, and certainly one of the fastest growth cities over the next 10 to 20 years. By the way, population here has grown 2.5% a year. We have a very, very strong economy at the present time. So obviously with $3 billion of real estate activity going on, of construction activity over the next few years, there are very few places in the country who have anything like this going on. And, there's Hudson Yards in New York, but how transformational this is the major construction project going on in the Southeast, is going to have a huge impact on the Tampa Bay area. We were introduced to Dreamit about 9 months ago. I think the world of these guys, of Avi, Seth, and the whole team. They know how to grow companies. And when, frankly, Avi and the team came up with the idea of this urban tech vertical, it is perfect. And because we are right at the stage of our development, we haven't started building yet, where we want to test and showcase new technologies, whether it's in the area of construction technology, real estate technology, smart cities. We want to test all this out. That's one of the things Strategic Property Partners can do. Our real estate company can test all this out in this area. Not only that, but we have relationships with all the brokers in the area, all the construction companies, all the developers. We know this entire community, so we have the ability, and one of our top functions will be here, not only having these new products and these the products of these 8 to 10 companies tested on us. They can be tested on all the rest of the construction and real estate infrastructure and companies throughout this area. So this vertical and this partnership between myself and Dreamit is the exact right thing at this point in time.
Awesome. So Jeff, the questions are flying in. So I'm going to start to maybe just throw a few your way in terms of some specifics. So, I'm curious before I do that to have you talk maybe for a minute about your vision for, or your thoughts on, an overall kind of startup ecosystem. So outside of the kind of the real estate development plan and the ability to integrate these companies, just talk about what's going on in Tampa from an innovation ecosystem, startup community. What are you seeing happen, and how do you see that developing over time? And in terms of trying to build Tampa into an Austin, into some of these up and coming major markets that are taking share out of the the Valley and New York City.
Great question, Avi. I appreciate it. And Tampa right now is at that inflection point where the innovation economy, the desire of young people and millennials to want to stay here, it's right at that inflection point and ready to take off. In fact, I would say it already has taken off. Tampa Bay Wave is a very successful incubator we have in downtown Tampa. There's a Jewish community center here, which has an accelerator in combination with with an Israeli organization, which is going to be one of the tops in the world. Really exciting stuff. Given what we have going on downtown, and given the growth of this area, and going back to my premise that it's a great place to be, you put all that together, the message is getting out there to millennials, the graduates. Hundreds of thousands of students graduate from college within 50-mile radius of Tampa Bay, Florida. These students now, they love it here. They're just looking for opportunity. They want to stay here. They want to be part of the startup culture. They're part of the millennium culture. And that's exactly what Tampa has going on right now. So just like I talked about right place, right time in terms of Dreamit, and this partnership with myself here, it's exact same thing in terms of the overall ecosystem in Tampa. And I've had over 200 meetings or phone calls over the last 18 months, listening and learning how to build an innovation ecosystem. We have it started in Tampa. We need to accelerate it, so to speak. And frankly, I'm trying to be a leader in this area with respect to that, because I do think we have so much potential. So, this urban tech vertical that we're doing with Dreamit, we all dream big here. We hope this is the first of many cohorts and many additional verticals to come, because this is a great place to be, and this is a great place. People will love it once they get to know this area and be here.
Yeah, awesome. So can you talk a little bit? I'm gonna shift back to kind of the work that's being done in Tampa. Can you, and you touched on it earlier, but I'm getting a bunch of questions around. Can you talk a little bit about the kinds of partnerships that SPP is bringing to the table? Who and what kinds of companies are you engaging with? And as we start to think about this customer network that we're going to build out and provide access to our startups with, tell us a little bit about that. Who are you working with? I mean, we got pretty excited when we saw the list of kind of premium brands that are part of this experience. So outside of, Jeff Vinik and SPP, what are we talking about?
Yeah, we're working with a whole smorgasbord, a whole Penelope, there's a word about that, of companies in this industry. So whether it's Jones LaSalle Lang or Lang LaSalle, JLL, in the real estate area, and the other commercial companies, we're working with 17 different architects from around the world. Elkis Manfredi from New York. Now, of course, I'm going to blank on some of the names. But who's list of architects, builders, et cetera, from around Florida, from around the eastern half of the country. We have a host of builders that we're developing relationships. Contractors, et cetera. I apologize for not having a list available right now, but the list is really, and I could run down the hall and get it, but the list is a who's who. The architects we have on this, Olson Kundig, and the architects we have on this project, Gensler, it is rare to find a group of architects working together like we have here. And they're collaborating. I think, frankly, in little old Tampa, which won't be little old Tampa very much longer, we're going to have one of the most incredible, vibrant, and inspirational streetscape and high-rise scape that exists anywhere.
Awesome. So, can you talk a little bit about, so I'm getting a lot of questions around, incentives for companies to create their headquarters and move to Tampa. So now that's not, and I'll answer part of this because the questions are coming in. We're not requiring, as part of the program, companies to move, because obviously we're also looking for companies that are somewhat established, that got a little bit of a base. So we know how hard it is to run a company. We know how hard it is to build a business. The focus should be on building your company and managing your products. And we don't want to create too much of a speed bump, but there will be time required to be spent in Tampa throughout the program. But outside of that, maybe Jeff, you could talk a little bit about your vision for startups in Tampa down the road. Like, as part of your development plan, are you thinking about co-working spaces? Are you thinking about other areas of opportunity to create that really unique startup ecosystem? And is the expectation that this will be so awesome as companies are coming through this program and getting exposed, that the hope is they're going to want to stay?
Yeah, exactly. One of my jobs over the 4 weeks approximately that companies will be here is to talk them into why this is a great place and why this is the right place for their company to be. There are clearly economic incentives to be here. There will be an awful lot of love from the community to be here. More particularly in the northern edge of our district, we are building an innovation zone. There is a great big park in the middle. We're going to have maker space available. We're building a interactive art museum. We're going to be building innovation space. And frankly, depending on how this evolves, Avi, we could build 150,000 feet. We could build 700,000 feet. That just shows the opportunity or how big we're thinking to bring young companies here. This community is wide open and will welcome others. One of the things I love about it is I spent 25 years in New York, 25 years in Boston. You can't move the needle that much in those cities. Come down to Tampa, you can move the needles. So what I'm saying is to those startup companies, you come down here and you immediately become a big fish in hopefully a pond that's getting a lot bigger too. But you become really important to this area, and you will get the support of the politicians. You will get the support of the business community in general. You will get support of the public, and you will really be able to tap into all these resources and feel that love. Florida has been called the second best state to Texas for business in the country. This Tampa Bay area is the exact same thing. And we have targeted as a community growth in the area of startup companies, innovation, et cetera.
That's awesome. And so a bunch of questions are coming in around timeline. So, over what period of time are we talking about? How much ground have you already broken? So give us just a quick state of the union in terms of, where you are in this vision, how long you anticipate, this initiative taking and all of that. So give us a little bit of a timeline.
I will. I want to mention one other thing, Avi, that I should have touched on that I didn't. We're going to become the first well-certified district in the world. Wellness and the health of people is hugely important to what we have going on here. There's a company called Delos, and they have what's called well certification. Well certification is analogous to LEED. LEED is for environmental and energy efficiency of buildings. Wellness, the well standard, is for the health and wellness of the inhabitants of the buildings. Not only are we going to make our buildings well certified, we're going to make our entire district well certified. I'll explain that in a second. One thing I want to mention is that there are 250 to 300 buildings in the world, office buildings, being constructed in conformity with this well standard by some of the biggest and best Fortune 1000 companies worldwide. Delos is really hit a nerve, and it's really resonating what we're doing. And that means we're going to have, both in our buildings and in our district, higher standards of filtration for air and water. We're going to have lots of bike paths, lots of stairs in buildings. If you're going one floor, do not take the elevator, walk the stairs. Fresh fruits and vegetables available, circadian lighting, lots of water fountains, green space, park space. I can go on and on. These are all the ingredients of well certification. If I finally answer your question, now we go to the timing.
Yeah.
We are breaking ground over the next 12 months on approximately 15 different buildings. I don't believe in staging things, and neither does Cascade Investment. We know that the secret to this district and to creating an amenity-rich, vibrant urban lifestyle is about having all the uses in play at once. So we're going to be building. We expect we'll have 20 or 25 cranes in the air 18 months from now. There's going to be a lot of building going on, and as I said, 2020, the first 4 or 5 million feet will be online from 19 to 20. USF Med School breaks ground actually in August coming up, in time for the Super Bowl. And at that point in time, basically 2/3 of our district will be fully built out and not a construction zone, livable in. This is almost unprecedented, building this much in a small space in this period of time. I love getting up every day and working on it. It's great stuff.
Amazing. So just for the audience out there, like I said, the questions are rolling in. We're going to try to get to as many as possible. If we don't get to them in the dialogue here, we're going to try to answer them individually by text. That allows us to do it through the Zoom platform. Also, as you're asking questions, let us know where you're from, what city, state you're from, and your company name. It'll just help us with context. So I want to bring in one of my partners, Steve Barsh, into the conversation. Steve is the Chief Innovation Officer of Dreamit. He is responsible for all things acceleration, sits over all of our programs, one of the leading minds in innovation and startup thinking probably on the planet. It's a privilege to call him my partner every day. So Steve, I'm gonna turn the forum over to you a little bit. Maybe you can ask some questions of Jeff, or kind of take the conversation down a path as it relates to the program itself.
Okay, thanks, Avi and Jeff. Good to be on with both of you. A couple of questions for you, Jeff, and you may have touched upon some of this. So I wanted to highlight them. Can you give me an idea of a scope of how many buildings are you putting up? How many high rises are going up, by 2020 over the entire project? Just to give I just want to give people and us more of a feel for the scope of this project, which is, putting it mildly, to call it a project.
Yeah, and we are limited to 300 feet vertical in the first phase of our district. Second phase, we can go to 600. So the number of high rises, 2 hotels is 2, 3 to 4 office buildings. Let's be conservative and say 3 is 5. Probably 6 residential towers is 11. USF School is 12. 2 museums is 14. Black Box Theater 15. I did the hotels, residential. I think I did most of it. Innovation building 16. So I'd say 15 plus or minus. Yeah, this is interesting. 15 plus or minus 300,000 square foot buildings, and if you add that up, that's 4.5 million feet. So the math works.
The math works. Okay, and then most of those buildings, are they low rise? Some of them are 10 to 20 stories. I'm just trying to figure out the math on, you said 300 feet's your limit. So
yeah, and it varies. We don't want a boring a skyline. Many of the buildings will be up 300 feet. All of them will look different, but they will all give a feel and have the same, not palette, but same mood, or the same branding, same feel for the overall district, but we don't want them all to be cookie cutter. We want them, that's why we're bringing in so many different architects. So there'll be some buildings that are shorter. We have a creative office building that'll be 8 or 10 stories. Right next to it is an office building that will be 800,000 feet, which will be 30 stories. So it varies.
Okay, when you talk about bringing in the architects, I know we've touched on this in some conversations outside of this. I haven't had an update in a long time. Can you give, again, from a scope, I'm not looking for the names of the architects, but how many architectural firms, how many development firms, how many construction firms? Like, could you give more of a scope? Because this forms, I think, what's interesting for a lot of the companies and a lot of the questions we're getting is, what's the customer network going to look like in Tampa? And what we're going to look to do with you and your teams is bring these young startups into Tampa and give them exposure to these companies. There's no guarantee that their technology instantly gets integrated into a building. All that needs to be assessed, but getting feedback. Can you give us a feel, again, the number of architectural firms, construction, developers, what do those numbers look like?
Yeah, there's 2 ways to answer that question. Let me answer it this way. A year ago, we had 10 people at our real estate company. Today, it's 40. In 6 months, it's going to be 50. In 18 months, it's probably going to be 75. Another data point on this is we average, on an average day, about 75 different meetings with various stakeholders here. And they could be construction companies, they could be architects, they could be community leaders, they could be politicians. I think that might give you a sense of the scale. We are talking to anybody and everybody from both the Florida and around this area. We have contracts with 17 different architectural firms, including landscape architectural firms. In terms of construction, we're using everybody within the state of Florida. In terms of subcontractors, every good subcontractor will have some work to do on this project. This is so large that we are literally moving the needle. If we had any worries, it is finding enough capacity, finding enough good contractors and subcontractors to do all this work. We believe it's out there. We're lining them up as we speak, but we have a whole network of partners to work with on this project, any and all of whom could be potential customers for target companies.
Okay, and I guess part of the thesis here and the idea is these companies, as they come into Tampa, and some people have asked this question just to answer, we're looking, I think you may have mentioned it, we're looking for the companies during the entire acceleration cycle, which is around 14 weeks, at least 4 of those weeks. They can spend more in Tampa, but at least 4 in Tampa or the Tampa Bay area. And part of that is to get exposure and feedback from these potential customers, from this vast partner network. Like when you talk about 17 architectural firms, lots of construction firms, lots of developers, right? Is to get that feedback about all of this technology that these companies are building, or new ideas. It doesn't necessarily have to be technology.
And Steve, let me be blunt here. Everybody wants business with us. Everybody works for us. That means all we have to do is call them, and they will be out to have a conversation with the managements of the companies being brought here, to give feedback on their product, to test out their product. Everybody wants to be a part of that. They're all open for business and open for collaboration.
That's great. That's great. Could you talk a little bit also, one other thing, we talk about individual buildings. How about infrastructure? Is there a lot of infrastructure, roads like that, because there's that, if you think of urban tech, can you talk a little bit about, are you building any new roads kind of thing?
Are we building new roads? One thing we're building is a district cooling plant. We don't want equipment on the top of every building. We want green space up there, and we want to activate the rooftops throughout the district. But our roadway work, actually, we are re-urbanizing and developing a great big urban grid here. We started that August of last summer. We have tens and tens of millions of dollars. Probably over time, it's going to be $100 to $200 million of infrastructure work, of roadway work, of conduit being laid, of parks being redesigned, of a road that's underground being brought back above ground, of new parking facilities, of technology related to these parking facilities, of bringing water into play. Water is an extremely important part of our district, both within the district and the fact that water borders us on 3 sides. So all of the above related to the amount of infrastructure work we have going on.
Okay. And Avi, for me, I know we have about 4 or 5 minutes with Jeff. I'm happy to stay on and answer endless questions that are coming in, and we have a lot of questions from the audience. I don't know if there's other questions, or if Jeff, things that you just want to talk about that you're excited about with this and the types of companies you're looking for. But I can come back on and just answer individual questions later.
Yeah, so we're getting a bunch of kind of specific questions that we can address, after Jeff leaves. We've got Jeff for another few minutes. So I think maybe it's, probably a good time, like Steve said, maybe Jeff, if you kind of want to, wrap things up with, maybe have some final thoughts. We are getting some questions around, which, might be good to get your opinion. Are we looking for, I know we talked specifically about companies in real estate, construction, smart cities, et cetera. But, we're getting some questions around, are we also looking for companies that are kind of interacting on the consumer side, or more social impact types of companies that may be out there. So, I said earlier, we're kind of taking the broadest definition of urban tech, but maybe, Jeff, it'd be good for you to talk at this last question about, what are, maybe some challenges that you're seeing throughout this process, and what kinds of companies do you think would make, a good fit in terms of helping to advance your mission, and also helping to kind of make Tampa a greater place. What kinds of problems are we trying to solve, and other types of companies that we're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, we're obvious as you know here. We're trying to create, or we're creating a 21st century city. When I think about the Museum of Science that we're going to be building downtown, this is not a museum of science like we think of the last 50 years. This is a museum of science for the next 50 years. I don't know what that is. Maybe there's a company out there that's working on this, that's working on designs, or has some inspiration about the way this looks like. Now, that's not classic urban tech necessary, but it is an interesting application. What I love about the innovation area is it's almost like, I don't know what we're looking for. I want to be inspired about what we're looking for, but this is, as you said, a very broad category. When we're talking, wellness is part of this, building is part of this, even transportation, parking. These are all parts of this. I know Dreamit is ambitious, and I have so much respect for Avi and the company. We're ambitious too, and we would like nothing more than with some of these companies to really be able to showcase to the entire world these new products, these new technologies, this new innovation that's going to be adapted worldwide. We are a great test area and demonstration project for all this new stuff that comes along. And we're working with companies. We're working with a major company in New York City to help us. It's helped us with our technology master plan, right? And the interesting thing about that is it is wide open. And one of the recommendations was a lot of conduit in the ground, because who knows what technology is going to be like 10 years from now, 5 years from now, even 2 years from now. We want the world to come tell us, as part of this program, what should we be thinking about, because we are all open-minded and open arms about integrating that into this project. We think it's going to be a key, just like we think the well certification is a differentiator of this project, we think technology will also be a differentiator of this project. And just like with well certification, we want to showcase to the world that we're the first well certified district in the world. Same thing with these technology companies. We want to showcase them to the world.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you very, very much, Jeff. I know you got a jam off to the arena. Good luck with the press conference. We're going to stick around and continue to take some of these questions that keep running in like a stock ticker. It's kind of awesome to see. So really appreciate the time, and lots more to come. So Jeff, maybe you want to just sign off, say thanks, goodbye, and then Steve and I are going to stick around and continue to take questions for the next 20 minutes or so.
Great. Thank you, Avi. It was a pleasure doing this. And if people want to preview, this is kind of already out, but we're announcing that Tampa Bay will be host to the 2018 All-Star Game, the NHL National Hockey League All-Star Game. We are a city of champions. We just had the college football playoff championship. As I said, we have the Super Bowl in 2021. I could go on and on and on. But right now it's off to announce the NHL with the All-Star Game with the commissioner. Thanks, guys,
awesome.
And have a great day, everyone. Thank you all for listeting to me.
And we'll keep going on other questions. Thanks, Jeff.
Perfect.
Good seeing you. Good talking to you, Steve.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Avi, if you'd like, we have a lot of queued up questions. People wondering if they're getting their questions. I am happy to kind of go rapid fire and just go one by one. We can pick them off. You can ask me whatever you'd like.
Take it away, Steve. I'll chime in. I think, a lot of these seem to be specifically around the program itself, what kinds of traction we're looking for. I'm seeing a lot of questions around, how much time we're spending in Tampa. So, a lot of really solid questions. We didn't want to bog Jeff down with a lot of the nuanced stuff. So sorry for the delay. We're going to try to get through as many of these as we can. And then, if questions continue to arise, we'll provide you guys with opportunities to connect with us in different ways. I did see a question around whether we'd be able to make this deck available that I walked everybody through. Absolutely happy to. That being said, if you just go to dreamit.com/urbantech, pretty much all the content that I walked everybody through is right on that page, minus the dates. Right, there are some key dates that are listed there, but a lot of the information that we've talked about, or that I walked through everybody through in the first part of the webinar, is at dreamit.com/urbantech. You'll also be able to fill out the form there to be able to request an application. So please go through that process. Hopefully, we'll try to make it as painless as possible.
Okay. Avi, I'm going to start firing away, rapid fire answer questions. Some of these are going to overlap, and I want to be like the Marines almost, no man left behind in this case, no question left behind. So I'm just going to start going through, and here we go. It's a lot of questions, and some will overlap. So Morgan asked, what type of traction or revenue numbers are you looking for from startups who have applied? Largely, we're looking for companies that have a product, early product, just about at sales or starting to sell. If you have an idea on the back of a napkin, it's not going to fit as well, but you're going to hear a recurring theme from me. If you're not sure, if in doubt, apply. Let us take a look at what you're doing. You'll get on our list. You're going to start getting information from us anyway. We put all of our webinars available for the public, for everyone to see. So if you don't get in, you're going to get into our world and network, and you'll be invited to webinars and seminars. So go ahead and apply. But largely, you've got a product, and at least some early traction is what we're looking for. Nathan asked about a half an hour ago, what are the expectations around growth for accepted companies, or the spectrum between high exponential growth versus fully revenue-driven lifestyle business? Largely, we're looking for companies that want to grow. We're not looking for as much lifestyle businesses. There's nothing wrong with those. These are really companies that want to be venture-backed, that you're looking for someone to place a big bet in the millions of dollars getting invested in the company, and it will be a high-growth business. If it's something like, hey, you know, it's great if 3 of us were working and we're doing $1 million or $2 million a year, we'd love to be involved. That's not going to be as interesting for a group like us. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the company, but at the end of the day, we feed into the venture capital ecosystem, which is looking for high growth businesses, to answer that. Frank asked, will this be a one-time event for Dreamit, or will you have several cohorts over the next couple of years? I think the best way we can answer that right now is we're running this one cycle. The hope is that we will be doing it again with Jeff in Tampa. We're running this one right now, and the hope and expectation is we will be doing more. But that's what we can say for now. And Avi, if you want to chime in.
I think that's right. I mean, I would not, you know, I'd be looking at this as there's a program happening. We are confident that the success of the program will breed additional cycles over time. You know, we've been running Dreamit Health now for the better part of over 4 years, 2 cycles per year. So our goal is to replicate that model over time. You know, to be perfectly transparent, you know, as investors, you know, and at the end of the day, Dreamit is a venture capital firm. You know, we have a thesis on where urban technology is going. We like the space. We think there's a tremendous opportunity. And this first cycle will help inform a lot of our thinking. And our hope is that it will continue to blossom, and that with our partnership with Jeff, with SPP, and with the general Tampa Bay area, will allow us to continue to push the program forward. Jeff's project, I can't even call it a project. Jeff's vision is almost a, you know, is a very long-term vision. So it's not we're hoping it's not a one and done type of deal. But right now, all we can commit to is this one cycle.
Okay, great. Dejomo asks, if I pronounced that correctly, are you involved with the current upcoming efforts in Tampa in the fields of ag tech and urban tech, urban ag tech, urban ed tech? Would love to apply our efforts in your urban development context. The answer is going to be yes. I mean, what we're doing in urban tech is very, very broad, and a lot fits in. So there are a couple of questions around ag tech. If you're into rooftop farming, vertical farming, all of those type of ag tech, we'd love to see it. We'd love to know about it. As you can tell, Jeff is really open to ideas. The entire acceleration is going to be really open to be wide to innovative ideas that can make a huge impact in an urban setting. And urban ed tech would fit that as well. We have a deep ed tech background. We've built 28 ed tech companies, to be exact, over the last 24 months alone. So the answer is yes on ed tech and ad tech. No, sorry, ed tech and ag as in agricultural, not ed tech. Okay, so Matt asks, my product is in the area of providing citizens and residents with a personalized experience with government. As a real estate developer, business owner, what's your greatest pain point vis-a-vis processing paperwork and complying with regulations? I can't answer that for Jeff. That one we're gonna have to answer offline. Let me keep going. I can't take that one. I don't know Jeff's pain point in that area. Next question from Jerry. How do the companies chosen get involved with a $3 billion project? There's just an opportunity to be involved. Is there direct placement into the phases? How's Dreamit supporting those companies? So what we're going to be doing, and Jeff got into this a little bit, but to be clear, when we run a cycle acceleration, the 2 big tentpole events that happen are we do customer immersions and an investor roadshow. When we're doing customer immersions, our biggest focus is going to be on the Tampa project. Right, Jeff talked about 17 architects, developers, construction firms, people operating cranes, people building infrastructure. The startups coming into the program are going to get exposure to those teams working on that. If it's something where they say it's ready to go, they'd look at integrating the technology. If it's something that's a little bit too early, it might just be getting more feedback. But what Dreamit will be doing, like we do with our health program, our Dreamit health companies just came back from a 3-city, 10-day customer immersion where they met with 15 different customers in the health space. We're going to be doing exactly the same thing centered on Tampa. We'll probably also take the Dreamit companies up to New York for company meetings with construction and developers in the New York City area as well. But that's how they get integrated into the project and get answered.
One quick point, Steve, real quick. Sorry. So I think you brought up a good point around immersions in New York as well, right? So obviously we've talked a lot about Tampa and it's core to the program just because the opportunity is so tremendous. But this is a national program, right? At the end of the day, your investor roadshows are going to be across the country. if there are major clients or customers within the network that exist outside of Tampa or New York City, we'll bring those to bear as well. So at the end of the day, we're casting a wide net. We're looking for companies globally, not just regional Florida companies. So we're looking for companies globally, and we're building a global customer network. Obviously, there's so much opportunity and so much happening inside of Tampa specifically that will allow us to provide like tremendous value very quickly. But again, this is a national program.
Okay, cool, thanks. Next question is from Hunter. What's the equity take for the program? Okay, the way we structure the program at Dreamit and how this program is going to work is to come into Dreamit. There's a $50,000 convertible security that you issue to the entity, to Dreamit. What we're doing, it's convertible security, $50,000. We don't write a check for that. That's almost like the program fee to come in. It's for anybody who's raising venture capital. It's a de minimis amount as a program fee for that $50,000 convertible security. We then get an investment right to write a check for up to $500,000 in your company at a slight discount. So it's a very, very nominal amount, but we don't write a check, and that's important. There's a question that I saw came up later, how much funding do we provide? We're not writing a check up front. We're putting this massive customer network together. We're putting an investor roadshow together, and we're putting an enormous amount of time and energy into the companies, but we don't write a check. Most companies that come into Dreamit these days, and again, with Dreamit UrbanTech, they have a chunk of funding already. It might be a small amount of funding, but they have funding already. They're usually about a year or two old when they come into programs like us, because most of these companies are kind of post-seed, pre-Series A. They've got to drop a cash and they're trying to get to their Series A, and that's what we focus on. We will take things that are earlier than that if they're wildly interesting. But so the equity take is very, very, very small. We're just getting mostly an investment right to invest in your next round. And oh, by the way, if we don't help you succeed in raising that next round, we're very aligned with founders. Let's put it that way. We're very aligned with your success. Otherwise, we can't put money to work.
That's right. I mean, our goal is to ultimately invest in your companies. We obviously, as a venture firm, want to make sound investments, and as part of that process, we're going to spend 14 weeks together, really aligning, getting insight and visibility into your company. And our goal is to take advantage of that full investment right and write a $500,000 check into your next round. And the way that we do that is fully aligned to our founders. So as Steve said, the convertible security, the 50K convertible security, I kind of tend to think of those as like Steve said, de minimis kind of advisory shares. That is the cost of the program. And over the course of 14 weeks, filling your pipeline, filling your customer pipeline, and putting you in front of a couple of dozen investors who will hopefully eventually lead your rounds. The value there is tremendous. So we've designed this program and the equity construct specifically to attract later stage companies. Obviously, if you're in a position where you need the cash up front, we're probably not the right place for you. We are looking for companies that have raised a little bit of cash. They've got a little bit of traction. Our job is to help drive value into your company in a short period of time, and then invest in you as we see the value kind of maturing. So the goal is to look at companies who've got between 6 and 10 months of runway. They've got the ability to, they've already done maybe a friends and family round. They've got a little bit of cash in the bank. Maybe a product is developed or in market. Maybe a customer, something along those lines. So there are some specific traction points that we're looking at, and that will allow us to really create the most amount of value for each individual company, so that by the time you're leaving the investor roadshow within 3 to 6 months, you've got a term sheet, you're raising your next round, and we're writing you a check alongside.
Yep, thanks. Next question from Nathan. A few people asked a few questions, to put it mildly. But anyway, he wrote, the roadshow VC seems to be focused on the largest metro areas in the US. Since Tampa is more of a mid-market city, what's the strategy to focus on companies and solutions that meet the unique needs of such markets? So a couple things. There's the customer immersions and there's the investor roadshow. For the customer immersions, they're largely focused on Tampa. It is a massive project undertaking. The next It's the second largest project. I think Hudson Yards in New York is the largest project in the United States. This is the second largest. So Tampa may be a mid-market city, mid-sized city, but it is a massive project. So I don't think you're going to see things that are unusually, if you were in LA or New York City, they're going to be highly unique to that you're not going to see in Tampa from a technology and company point of view is number one. Number two, from an investor roadshow point of view, it looks like we are going to be running an UrbanTech Summit in Tampa. That's going to be focused on a number of things, but really geared towards Southeast investors that want to come see these companies. And as well, we will be going on a classic Dreamit investor roadshow. We have companies in our health vertical right now getting ready to leave for that in 2 weeks. They will be going to San Francisco, Silicon Valley, Boston, and New York, among other places. It is a 2-week stretch, and most of those, as Avi was talking about, most of those companies will get in front of 12 to 20 VCs that want to meet with them. It's a very curated experience, as well as, in this case, like the UrbanTech Summit. So there will be exposure into the Southeast VC base, the Tampa VC base, as well as the whole Southeast US VC based. I'm going to keep cranking, Avi, and just get through as many as I can. And I will keep going. People could drop off. I'll keep going, and then we could do a Q&A if not enough people are on. But there's a lot of people still on. Morgan asked question for Jeff. Have you looked into social fan engagement? That's on his hockey team. I can't answer that for Jeff. Next, Robert, one sec. A lot of questions that keep scrolling by. Robert asked, are there any key initiatives for the veteran community to be involved in the rapid development? I don't know of any specific things on the veteran community, but it's something certainly to keep in mind. Next question. Raj asked, when you say traction, what specifically are you looking for? Revenue generating company, pre-revenue, prototype? Traction, we're looking for somebody that has a product. It has a product that's ready to be put to use. That's the most important thing. You don't have to have revenue just yet, but it's a product that people can put to use. It's not just something where you're walking around talking to architects saying, look, if we build this, are we addressing a really big problem? That's going to be a little bit too early for the program that we're working on right now. Again, if it's wildly interesting and you think you have something groundbreaking, if in doubt, apply. Should take 5 to 10 minutes of your time. We'd rather see what you're doing and then make a decision based on what you're actually doing. Okay, next question is from Mariella. How fully baked is the urban design built environment plan, and how was the plan developed? Factors that went into consideration, land use, urban design changes, yes, all of that went in. I know Jeff has had huge teams of people working for years on this, on the land use, the wellness issues, the mixed use, making it gorgeous, making it beautiful, making it functional and fitting into the community would be what I could say on that. Jeff could answer more. If you have further questions, by the way, if you have further questions, just tweet us at Dreamit. If you're like, I have an UrbanTech question, just hit us on Twitter, just at Dreamit and hashtag UrbanTech, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Okay, question. Ali asked, hi Jeff, how does Tampa plan to incentivize startups to headquarter in the Tampa area? By providing 17 architectural firms, a dozen developers and constructions, having the most vast customer network you could ever imagine if you're in this space. That's the incentive. And being part of an ecosystem that's going to grow wildly quickly. And by the way, I was just down there a few weeks ago in a gorgeous area that's going to get only more gorgeous. Yeah.
We're over time, we're going to be working with, and we're pulling in lots of local resources, to create a little bit more of those incentives, things over time, like stipends for sticking around, office space, other things like that we'll start to bring to, kind of bring into the fold, right? So, there will be over time a base of perks that will go towards, attracting and helping startups who are looking for, a new home. Well, I think that will be a big part of it. But at this stage in the game, really, the focus is on driving, intrinsic value into the companies first and foremost. Okay, thanks, Avi. So a couple more minutes. I know formally we have 2 minutes left. The more questions I answer, just in case you're caring in the audience, every time I answer a question, 3 more pop up. Currently, there's 71 unanswered questions. We're not going to answer all of them. I'm going to cherry pick for another 5 minutes, and then we can write a text, and we'll post a link on Twitter. So I'm sorry, folks, but I'm just going to cherry pick.
Raphael asked, hi, the project sounds very exciting, I'd say. It sounds like smart building technologies would fit well within your smart cities focus area. Would you agree? Yeah, absolutely, in a really big way. I would agree with that. So it's the answer to that. Next couple questions. Let me just look.
Here, I'll take one at the bottom. Ray, what's the horizon that you have to invest up to 500K, and do you reserve the right to invest incrementally into various rounds? So basically, our investment right, it allows us to take advantage of that investment right in your next round, whenever that round happens, and then just like any other investor, in terms of incrementally into various rounds going forward, we would look to protect our pro rata, so maintaining our position, which is very standard. Nothing that we are doing or asking of you is anything that isn't anything any other investor would. So we've got the investment right that we will be able to take into your next round post Dreamit, and our ability would be to then continue to write checks to maintain that position over time. And that question was from Ray.
Okay. Cool. Let me take a couple more questions. There was a question.
Do you want to take this one? It's a good one from Daipen. Can you highlight some of the successful portfolio companies and some key exits of Dreamit companies?
Sure. Just generally.
Generally, yeah, not specific to UrbanTech, but maybe you could talk. I mean, we've got some pretty kick-ass companies to point to. So, if you're not familiar with Dreamit, you can go to our site and check out our portfolio. But there are definitely some pretty awesome companies that you've most likely heard of.
Yeah, sure. Companies like SeatGeek, which are based out of New York City, which has completely changed the secondary ticket market. If you've ever used that, we started that company pretty much from scratch with them in 2009. Actually, it was from scratch because it was at the meeting around the table with, we've got a different idea, and it started from scratch. That would be one. Avi, I don't know. There's a lot in the ed tech space, a lot in the health space.
Yeah.
Built over 3.
What was Meerkat is now House Party, a live video chat platform. Level Up, which is a payments platform. Adaptly, which is a social media ad buying platform. These are all companies that are now valued in excess of $200, $300, $400 million each. Adaptly, I think, just raised at a $150 million valuation. SeatGeek is upwards, I think, now at this point of close to 700 million in value. So these are pretty remarkable companies. Over the last 8 years, Dreamit's been a part of over 300 companies. So I would say about, there's probably 20 to 30 of them that are maybe not quite household names, but that have created some pretty demonstrable value in the marketplace.
Okay, cool. Let me take a couple more questions. And one thing I wanted to point out, I'm noticing a couple of people that are international. Typically in a cycle of Dreamit, we get companies apply from about 30 countries around the world. Of the 8 Dreamit Health companies that are in right now, by the way, 1 or 2 actually from Philadelphia. I'm in Philadelphia today. Avi's in New York, and Jeff was in Tampa. We have companies in this cycle. We have a company from Ireland, a company from England, 2 from California. They're from all over the world. So if you're somewhere that's not in the United States, you're not in Florida, boy, are you in for a treat for how gorgeous it is in Tampa. But if you're international, we deal with international companies from all over the world. We do a lot of companies from the Middle East apply to get into Dreamit. And we're agnostic to location. We don't care where you're from in the world. We're looking for the best companies with the best teams with the best ideas to make them and help them be even better. Along those lines, I had a question. I'm just looking for it. Avi, I don't know if you have one cycled up.
Yeah. So let's see. Do you need to focus? So David's asked, do you have industry focus or areas of specialty? So we covered this a little bit earlier. Dreamit's run programs in the past around education, technology, health, digital health. We've got general programs that we've run in the past. In this particular case, we're talking specifically about urban tech. Urban tech, as we've defined it in the broadest sense, is inclusive of real estate technology, property tech, or what's been called prop tech, construction technology, project management solutions specific to real estate and architectural firms, as well as kind of broadly defined smart cities, which is inclusive of Internet of Things, connected devices, sensors. You heard Jeff talk earlier about other areas of interest like transportation, parking, things of that nature. So really, I would tell you that, for this particular program, the focus is on any company who's got an amazing product that will help make a city a much better place to live. And I think in its broadest sense.
Okay, I just want to add one or two more remarks, and then we'll take the questions offline. And I just want to kind of wrap a couple thoughts up. We'd love to have you as part of the program. We've been doing these types of programs for a long time. It's the first time we're doing a dedicated urban tech. We've done companies in the urban tech space, but we're doing a dedicated track with Jeff. It's an unbelievable customer network that he's put together in Tampa. It's an unbelievable project. And for the right companies, in my mind, it's an unbelievable opportunity because I'm a serial entrepreneur. It's what I've done my whole life and career. And getting your first early customers is one of the most critical things. And this has got an unbelievably great built-in customer network. For those, as reminders, you'd need to spend about 4 weeks in Tampa. You don't need to relocate to Tampa. Part, I think, what Jeff was saying is he's going to help you. He's going to want to help you fall in love with Tampa, but you don't have to relocate there to get the benefits out of the program. You can do a version of a hybrid program. That's fine. Yeah. Again, I just wanted to. My last thought, Avi, is if in doubt, apply. I mean, great to get feedback. We'll give you feedback on what you're doing. If you're not sure, fill out the application. Let's find out what you're doing. Let's get you involved. You'll be available. You'll be open to coming to our public webinars by doing that. We provide a lot of the educational content and curriculum for free these days. We want to help anybody. It doesn't, even if you're not in the program, not in the vast customer immersions, not in the Bi-Coastal Investor Roadshow and the big summit in Tampa, we'd love to hear what you're doing.
Yep. So I'll take another one. So Jeff asked a great question. Construction, real estate, and smart cities are segments known to be slow to adopt new technology. We hear things like, when our current managers retire, we will be interested. Our sales have all been to commercial organizations outside of those segments. Tell us more about the commercial connections or the municipal interest to drive potential customers in your identified segments. Great question. And I wanted to point this out because this is what Dreamit does best. We go into highly bureaucratic, highly politicized, very complicated industries like health, like education. There's a reason why we pick these industries. Not only do we think they're great segments that benefit the world and that offer really great investment opportunities, but they are also areas where we agree with you, Jeff. It's friggin' hard to manage, right? These are places where it takes a long time to get to the right person, and you're talking about old school laggard systems that are highly bureaucratic and very hard to navigate. And from our standpoint, that's why actually we're focused on this particular vertical along with the others, is because it's our job to help cut through the BS, get you to the right person who is actually interested. If you heard Jeff talk earlier, pretty much there's not a single company that won't take SPP's phone call, given the scope and size of what they're doing. We're talking about a $3 billion with a B project. Real estate development initiative. So at the end of the day, the nice thing here is we've got the top 15 architectural firms, top 15 construction management companies, all working with us already. And so our job is going to be to kind of open the door, help you navigate through that system and try to get to the right people. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a walk in the park. You still got to do your job as entrepreneurs, founders, and salespeople to make sure that your pitch is tight and that you're able to articulate your value proposition effectively. But we're going to get you into front of the right people who are key decision makers who will be able to move if they find interest.
Mm-hmm. And Avi, I just wanted to remind people, just looking at a couple of the questions, we are going to make the deck available that you went through briefly. A lot of people were asking about the timeline. You had some initial timeline stuff in the deck. We'll update the website. We'll have more and more detail as we refine, particularly the end of the program, as we're just looking to lock in final dates for it. We have the general starting parameters, ending parameters when the applications due. That's all out, but the timeline will be published. We know generally, it's a September to December timeframe. It's just the exact dates of, the cocktail party, is it on the 11th or the 12th?
Right.
If we get to that level of detail, we'll publish that and have that out there. If you have additional questions, just hit us on Twitter @Dreamit. If you want to follow and stay up to date on announcements about applications open, closing, timeline updates on website, again, just follow us on Twitter and @Dreamit would be the best source of information on all of this.
Okay.
Avi, anything else?
Cool. No, I'm just doing one last quick search to see if there's any last questions that are like pressing that would impact everybody on that's left on the call. A lot of these are very specific to individual scenarios. You know, obviously, like Steve said, if you've got more questions, feel free to tweet at us. We're going to do our best to answer some of these directly by text through the platform over the next little bit of time here. And if we didn't get to your question, sincerely apologize. You know, we got an overwhelming number of people on the who joined us for the webinar. So it's great to see the interest. We're psyched that what we're doing is resonating. Jeff, as you saw and heard, is an incredible person, one of the smartest people I've ever had the pleasure of doing business with. Before taking over Tampa, you may know him as the fund manager of the Magellan Fund at Fidelity. Jeff, if you Google him, has been around for a very long time and is probably one of the most respected business people in the country. It would be, you know, I think a tremendous opportunity for any startup across the world who's doing something interesting in this space to be part of this. So we hope you see as much value in the program and in the process as we do. And we're really excited about this new chapter for Dreamit and this new vertical that we're focusing on. So thank you everybody for participating. Again, I'm sorry we were not able to get through all the questions. But hopefully it gave you a good sense of what it is that we're trying to do here. As Steve said, if you know, if you're on the bubble and not sure, apply. It will get you into our funnel. It will get you into our newsletter. It will keep you connected to us. And as we continue to develop this vertical over time, you know, we want to make sure that we're keeping the broader ecosystem informed of what it is that we're doing. So thank you guys very much. We went over by about 10 minutes. We probably could keep going for another 30, but we're going to call it quits here. And again, if you've got any other questions, feel free to tweet at us. This webinar will also be made available as a video download. So stay connected with us through our newsletter. Go to our website, dreamit.com/urbantech to learn more. We'll keep that up to date with dates and timing. You can request the application from there. And with that, I want to thank everybody who spent a little bit of their afternoon with us. Again, I'm Avi Savar with Steve Barsh. You had Jeff Vinik earlier, and we're here for, we want to thank you again for participating. So take care, and we'll talk soon.